Hi, Rami. Good to see you back.
Mhm. Thank you.
When you made your beautiful introduction into meditation, you very much led us also in the awareness of our body as the place of meditation. And in this meditation, just also being aware, as you said, that hundreds of thousands of people around the world are joining. It is a very strong experience how this body is one body, and how we call this vigil belonging to earth. And I had this kind of image of like holding all together earth around, and all these people in meditation have this inner posture of holding earth together as one body, as we are also not separate from this earth. We are grown out of this earth, and being aware of it, we share one consciousness of belonging to earth. So thank you for this introduction to meditation. But you wanted to introduce our first guest here that will lead us further in this joint vigil.
Thank you, Thomas. I would love to weave the previous part that we've meditated together and make sure that our awareness is held in the same way. You may have listened through the meditation instruction and now have sat for an hour re-equating, feeling this intimacy with our body, and as Thomas said, really try to extend this awareness to how you're sitting with so many other people around the world. And to maintain this awareness throughout all of these different transitions, as we come in and meeting new presenters, hearing new voices. Remember to hear them the way we've spoken them before, about as a rain showering over you, as the words come in, or the chants or the prayers. Try to maintain that same posture and that same awareness throughout. Take what works for you, let go what doesn't. And also, once we complete hearing from our presenters, let that go too. That is also part of that experience of our presence, of what comes into our perception and what goes away. And we are tasked with an impossible task to be present and to experience our belonging to earth. It's ingraspable, but we can only do it in bits of pieces of awareness. So we will start with our first presenter, who will guide us through the element of water. That will be our entryway. You can see this as trickling in into our presence and into our belonging and our bearing witness to earth. Rabbi Jill Hammer is a Jewish leader, a spiritual leader. She resides in New York City, in Brooklyn. It's a great privilege to have Rabbi Jill with us. It's a great privilege to begin with a woman spiritual leader. She is a Rav Kohenet, which in the Hebrew tradition means a Jewish female priestess. She is a co-founder of the Kohenet Institute. She is devoted to igniting a devotion and what she calls wild mysticism and connection through ritual to earth, to story. She's dedicated to training women leaders and priestesses. And it's a great honor to have Jill Rabbi Hammer with us as we begin our trickling into the great ocean of our connectedness. So Rabbi Jill Hammer will be hearing a recording of her joining us. Unfortunately, she couldn't be with us live. So Elizabeth and I have met with her just a few days ago, and she was very, very grateful and very devoted to contribute to this. This is as happening on a Shabbat. She preferred to record this and to offer it in this way. So let us return our awareness into that spaciousness, and let us hear Rabbi Jill Hammer.
Hello, Shalom. Thank you for that introduction. Thank you very much to the Zen Peacemakers for allowing me to be here with you as part of belonging to Earth. I'm deeply moved by and passionate about the idea of belonging to Earth. And I'm here to bear witness with you to the life-giving power of water and its profound majesty and its presence in our lives. And this feels like an important and big task because water is an endangered resource in many ways, and because we're out of balance with water. It's rising in ways that are harmful to us. And this is also a really beautiful task that we have to bear witness to water, because water is something every living body needs. It's a substance with which we have intimate familiarity, and it's such a blessing to us. So this is a really beautiful job that we have to bear witness to water. And I want to start with a couple of Hebrew words, which are Mayim Chaim, which means waters of life. And Mayim Chaim means flowing water. Naturally occurring water in a lake or an ocean is called Mayim Chaim. But the phrase Mayim Chaim can also mean water is life, just like the Sioux people say, Mini Wichoni, water is life. And so I want to dedicate this teaching and meditation both to the living waters, to the Mayim Chaim, and to all around the world who are protecting and caring for those waters. And as my offering to you and with you today, I want to tell you a story about water that comes from Jewish tradition that I think is relevant for our own day. And then I want to meditate with you on the story. But first I want to begin, as we often do in my tradition, with a song. And I invite you to be in this song in whatever way is right for you. You can join in or you can listen. It has English and Hebrew. Please stay in whatever language is comfortable for you. And the words are from Isaiah chapter 12. And they describe the joyful drawing of water from the wells of salvation. And what I like about this phrase, the wells of salvation or the wells of liberation, is that all wells are wells of salvation and liberation. All wells give life. There is a tradition about these words that we're going to sing that they refer not only to drawing up the waters in a physical way, but to the drawing up of the Holy Spirit. So the flow of water is connected to the flow of spirit in this powerful way. And this song is by Kohenet Yael Shonzait and Avra Shapiro. And the words are, "We will draw water in celebration from the wellspring of liberation." And the Hebrew words are Mi Mainei HaYeshua, which means from the waters of liberation. Mi Mainei HaYeshua, Ushaftem Mayim Bisason, and you will draw water in joy. Mi Mainei HaYeshua, Ushavtem Mayim Bisason. And it goes like this. We will draw water in celebration from the wellspring of liberation. We will draw water in celebration from the wellspring of liberation. We will draw water in celebration from the wellspring of liberation. We will draw water in celebration from the wellspring of liberation. Me, my name, Hayeshua. Ushaft hamayim besason. Me, my name, Hayeshua. Ushaft hamayim besason. Please join me. We will draw water in celebration from the wellspring of liberation. We will draw water in celebration from the wellspring of liberation. We will draw water in celebration from the wellspring of liberation. We will draw water in celebration from the wellspring of liberation. Me, my name, Hayeshua. Ushaft hamayim besason. Me, my name, Hayeshua. Ushaft hamayim besason. We will draw water in celebration from the wellspring of liberation. We will draw water in celebration from the wellspring of liberation. We will draw water in celebration from the wellspring of liberation. We will draw water in celebration from the wellspring of liberation. This past summer, the Kohenet community and I were praying in a retreat center. We had been praying in a beautiful field all week, and water erupted from the field at a particular moment as we were closing our retreat, and we all sang that song. And I'm going back to that moment now and seeing the beautiful rushing water that we had not at all expected. It was such a surprise to see that water gush out of the earth. And the story that I want to tell is really related to that image of water coming from the depths of the earth. This is a story from the Talmud. It's my version, so it's changed a little bit. And it's a story about what is called the foundation stone. In Hebrew, Even Hashtiyah. The foundation stone is the stone, according to legend, at the very spot that the Holy One created the universe. So when God began to make the world, God started with this stone that became known as the foundation stone. It is the navel of the world, or the keystone, if you will, of the world. And there are a number of legends about this stone. And particularly, it is considered to be located under the Holy of Holies in the temple in Jerusalem. But it is fixed in the great deep so that it connects the worlds. It is connected to the underworld, to the deep, to the primordial waters, and it's also connected to the human world. And on that stone, according to legend, the high priest would place the incense on the holiest day of the year. But there is a legend that at first no human knew about the foundation stone. This place, this stone from which God created the world, it was hidden beneath the earth. And under that stone, hidden beneath the earth, God had sealed all the primordial waters so that water and chaos would not flood the whole world, and there could be dry land for creatures to live on. The Holy One had put a seal on the primordial waters, and that seal was the foundation stone. And because of this seal, the dry land and its creatures were able to survive. And in the time that David was king in Jerusalem, he began to lay the foundations of the temple. And even though it was his son Solomon who would one day build the temple, David wanted the merit of being able to lay the foundations. And so he began digging the foundations of the building, the drain pipes. And as he was digging these foundations on a certain threshing floor that had been provided for the temple to be built on, he dug deep in the earth and he came to a stone. And she was an immense stone, an ancient and mighty stone. And the stone was in the way of the foundations that David was digging. And so he put his hands on the stone to move it. And then the stone spoke and said, I am the foundation stone. I am the stone that holds back the deep. Don't move me. Leave me where I am, because I'm here to preserve the world. And David said, but you're in my way. You're in the way of the foundation of the temple that I'm building to glorify the Holy Blessed One. You have to move. And the stone said, I am not in the way. I am the foundation. I have been here since the beginning of time. I'm here to seal all of creation and keep you and everything safe. Please don't move me. And who knows why David didn't listen to the stone. Maybe he was curious or stubborn or wanted to show his power, or maybe he just wasn't paying attention. But he moved the stone. And the second that he moved the stone, the depths began to well up from beneath the stone. And the waters were a trickle, and then a rushing, and then a tsunami, and the valleys began to fill up, and the seas began to rise. And David knew he'd made a terrible mistake. And as he was trying to think about how he could undo the terrible damage that he had caused to the world, he remembered a secret that he had once learned. And he cried out to anyone who would listen, does anyone know if it is permitted to me to write the name of God, the holy four-letter name of God, the holy secret name? Is it permitted to write that name on a pottery shard and throw it into the waters so that they will subside? And the stone said, yes, it's permitted. And so David grabbed from the earth a pottery shard and scratched into it the four-letter name of God and threw it into the waters that were rising, and the waters subsided. And David thought the world was saved. But then he looked around and saw that the waters and streams were now all ebbing away, and he understood that all the waters of the world had dried up. And so there could be no life. And he thought that all was lost. But the stone said to him, sing. And King David sang 15 psalms, which to this day are called the Psalms of Ascent, and you can find them in the Bible. And as he sang each psalm, the waters rose a little more, and a little more, until they ascended not too high, but just to the very right place, a place that was nourishing but not destructive, and the lands were watered but not flooded. And when the waters came to that right place, David stopped singing. And he breathed a sigh of relief, and he rolled the stone back to her place. And the stone settled into her spot as the seal of the earth. And upon that stone, which holds back the primordial waters, the temple was built. And that stone was the navel of the world. And on it, the high priest would rest the incense on the holiest day of the year. Now, this is a story that I think of often. It's from 2,000 years ago, And yet it seems to me that we are living this story. Because the foundation stone is what brings balance to the waters. And we have moved the stone. And the waters are out of balance and rising. And I want to invite, in bearing witness to that truth, that we meditate on this stone and on the possibility that we might return the stone to its place. And that we might bring healing to the waters. So I want to invite you to take a moment with me, just to draw your attention to your breath, and bring your consciousness to the present moment, and to the sensation of breathing in and breathing out. And if you want, you can notice all the water in your own body. And the blood and the tissues and all of the ways that water is keeping your body alive at this very moment. And focusing on your body and on this present moment. Sinking deeper into the world that is within. And closing your eyes if that feels right, and you haven't already done so. I invite you to perceive what the foundation stone looks like to you. However it looks to you, that's how I invite you to imagine it right now. How it feels to you, its texture. I invite you to sit with the stillness of this stone, this ground of creation, navel of the world. Maybe to you, it looks like a pebble. Or maybe it feels like a huge boulder. However you feel or sense or see it, that's how it should look to you. Feel in your body the strength and stability that the stone offers all creation. Feel the balance that it brings. You might even feel for a moment that you are the stone. And now I invite you to perceive that below the stone are the primordial waters, the deep underground aquifers, the Mayim Chaim, the waters of life. Feel the power of these hidden waters beneath the stone. These unseen waters that sustain our world. Feel their place at the very foundation, at the core of life on this planet. You may even feel these great waters within your own body, for they are indeed connected to the water in your body. There is a balance between stone and water. There is rising and falling, and yet there's balance. And now I invite you to perceive in whatever way is right for you that the stone has been shifted. You might imagine there are human hands that move the stone, or however you see it. The place of the stone is not quite where it was, not in balance. And the waters begin to rise from beneath the stone. And you can perceive what happens to the earth as the waters rise and as the elements come out of balance. And you can feel the waters rise. And notice what it is like, what you see, feel, smell, hear, or taste as the rising waters continue to flow, not quite in balance, around you and inside you. And notice, if you can, what might be necessary to put the waters back in balance. See if the waters themselves are telling you something about that, or if something occurs to you, what is needed here for balance to return? And you might even perceive, you might find before you maybe a pottery shard, maybe a page of a book, maybe a pebble, something on which you can write or engrave or whisper a word or two. The right word to bring grace to the waters, to bring healing to the waters and the world. Maybe it's the divine name. Maybe it's a word of peace or healing or action. Whatever that word is, allow it to emerge and inscribe it. And send that word forth into the waters, or that phrase, or that name of the divine. Send it into the waters without, the waters within. And notice now what happens. Notice whether perhaps the waters now begin to recede, to return to balance. And notice whether something in you also returns to balance. And as the waters come back to their right place in the world. I invite you within your own inner space to sing to the waters, as David once did. Sing to them or with them. Maybe a hum that mixes with their rushing. Maybe a rhythm like the waves against the shore. Or maybe a song, or a prayer, or a lullaby. Whatever song you're called to offer. And see how you and the waters connect and how the waters respond as this song emerges from you or between you. And you might even notice that others are joining that song. Waters, your fellow creatures, fellow humans, maybe even the stars. And as the song rises, the waters within you and around you come into relationship with you and fully back into balance. And see what that's like for harmony to be restored. And as you feel that, you might notice that the stone comes back into place. And brings its strength, its sacred center to the world again. And you once again can feel the stillness of the foundation stone, the ground of creation, however you see it or feel it. Maybe you are the stone. And underneath you, the deep primordial waters sustain our world. Cycling up into the air, becoming clouds, descending as rain, flowing into the rivers, rushing down to the sea, sinking deep into the earth. That cycle, continuing, sustaining, bringing life. And throughout all the motion, the stone witnesses how it is all one, and we are all part of it. And feeling that oneness in the cosmos and within yourself. I invite you to notice your breath. Pay attention to the sensation of breathing. Allow yourself to come back to awareness of what's around you. And as you're in this liminal state, you might want to call to your mind the words that you used to seal the waters of the deep. And maybe you want to take a moment to contemplate how those words might be a charge to you in this time. To, in your own way, be a water protector. Be one who tends the Mayim Chayim, the waters of life. And as you notice the sensation of breathing in and out. Notice the parallel between the breathing in and the breathing out. And the waters ebbing and flowing throughout our world. Finding commitment and balance and peace in those waters. Taking a few moments in silence to reflect on this journey. I also invite you to call to mind now a gift that water has given you personally. Maybe it's a memory, maybe it's a place you like to go. Just taking a moment to say thank you. For the gifts that water personally gives you. I want now to say a blessing before we return to our song. There are a couple of different blessings in Jewish tradition over water. There's a blessing for seeing the great sea. There's a blessing for drinking water. And there's also a blessing for rain. And the blessing for rain is simply, blessed is the one who is good and does good. And I love that blessing and the deep recognition that water is simply good. Even though when it gets out of balance, it can be scary or destructive. It's a good in our lives. And it's been raining here in New York City, and I'd like to say that blessing over the goodness of water and to bear witness to that goodness with all of you. So I'm going to say my blessing using the Hebrew feminine, which is not the traditional way of saying the blessing. but it is a way that allows us to envision the divine in some new forms. Rucha at Shechina Elotenu Ruach Haolam Hatova V'Hametiva. Blessed is the presence dwelling within the world, within the waters, who is good and does good for all of us. We will draw water in celebration from the wellspring of liberation. We will draw water in celebration from the wellspring of liberation. We will draw water in celebration from the wellspring of liberation. We will draw water in celebration from the wellspring of liberation. Reminding Hayeshua Ushavtem Mayim Besaso Mi meine Hayeshua Ushavtem Mayim Besaso. We will draw water in celebration from the wellspring of liberation. We will draw water in celebration from the wellspring of liberation. We will draw water in celebration from the wellspring of liberation. We will draw water in celebration from the wellspring of liberation. Me, my name, Yeshua. Ushavtem mayim besaso. Me, my name, Yeshua. Ushavtem mayim besaso. We will draw water in celebration from the wellspring of liberation. We will draw water in celebration from the wellspring of liberation. We will draw water in celebration from the wellspring of liberation. We will draw water in celebration from the wellspring of liberation.
Thank you to Rabbi Jill Hammer.
Thank you.
From New York City, United States. So let's take her words to heart and continue our day together, bearing witness, belonging to earth. We will move into a 15-minute break after I sound the bell. And again, the encouragement to continue that stream of awareness throughout this unstructured time. And we'll come back again at around the hour for 2 more hours in this block. In the next blocks, the presenters may simply lead us into that silence. And us as the presenters, we will come in at times when the transition is more important to be facilitated. But from this on, this ship is moving together. And we're all responsible to it. So let's continue bearing witness.